In Charlottesville, one of the things I noticed were a bunch of flags. These were a bunch of flags I had never seen before. I recognized some of them, but many of them I had not seen before. And what that tells you is just how diverse and widespread white supremacist ideology is. That everybody's looking for Confederate flags and swastika flags, and there's a bunch of others. A bunch of others from sect groups you never even heard of before. And on the Southern Poverty Law Center website, under the title, Flags and Other Symbols Used by Far-Right Groups in Charlottesville. Headline, the so-called Unite the Right rally organized by white nationalist Jason Kessler in Charlottesville, Virginia, has succeeded in drawing out a diversity of far-right groups, ranging from white nationalists to armed, quote, patriot groups. What follows is a guide to some of the flags and symbols as spotted by hate watch analysts. The groups depict the national flag of Kekistan, mimics a German Nazi war flag, with the Kek logo replacing the swastika and the green replacing the infamous German red. A 4chan logo is emblazoned in the upper left corner. Alt-righters are particularly fond of the way the banner trolls liberals who recognize its origins. As I'm saying this, you can go and Google it and see it for yourself, because there's actually more than one. That's another tool that they use. Speciation. The next one is the fascist National Socialist flags. And these have like eagles that are carrying a fasces. One with the SPQR. And one that just has the circle with the eagle behind it. And then there's another one that has a star in the middle and these lines that emanate out from it, which in some people's eyes would invoke the sun, or the black sun as they call it, but I saw something different. And the one with the star in the middle is actually one specifically for Texas. The Vanguard America, the eagle carrying a fasces, symbol of authority in fascist Italy. And the Vanguard America Texas incorporates the Schwarz Sonne, black sun, with the Star of Texas in the middle. You can go look that up. The Schwarz Sonne, black sun, sometimes called the Sonnerad. The symbol has become synonymous with myriad far-right groups who traffic in neo-Nazi or neo-Volkish ideologies, drawing back upon their history. White folk understand their history, and particularly white supremacists understand their history, and they draw upon it. While black folk are sitting up here mired in empire and power, which are very oxymoronic because they're neither empires nor are they powerful, but I digress. These people are drawing back upon their history and invoking certain symbols. The symbol is based on the ancient wheel artifacts that were made and used by Norse and Germanic tribes as symbols of their pagan beliefs. Those sun wheels, made centuries upon centuries ago, do not actually resemble the complexity of this particular version. The version above is inlaid into the marble floor of the Castle Wewelsburg, the castle that Himmler, that was Hitler's right-hand man, for those of you who don't know, that Himmler made the spiritual and literal home of the SS during the reign of the Third Reich, and has significance within the occult practices of the SS. And as I pointed out, if you take a look at that black sun symbol and isolate two of the lines coming from the middle and remove the others, isolate the one running north and south, isolate the one running east and west, remove everything else, and you will see that that is very clearly a swastika. If you'll take a look at it, the black sun symbol. You're gonna learn all kinds of new things here tonight. If you take a look at it, you will realize that is a swastika. And that's why they carry it. And yes, the one in Texas is no different. Next is the Traditionalist Worker Party. It's a white nationalist group. Now, their symbol looks like a gear with what would appear to be a four-pointed trident. I shouldn't say trident, but a pitchfork in the middle. A gear with a pitchfork in the middle. The Traditionalist Worker Party is a white nationalist group that advocates for racially pure nations and communities and blames Jews for many of the world's problems, even as it claims to oppose racism. And keep that in mind, because there were a bunch of folks that you might try to identify as leftists at that rally today, but leftist and rightist are minutia. Those are minutia terms. The real question is, what do you feel about black people? Then you start finding out that leftist and rightist are really ancillary terms that don't really have meanings where you're concerned. Even as it claims to oppose racism, saying every race deserves its own lands and culture, the group is intimately allied with neo-Nazi and other hardline racist organizations that espouse unvarnished white supremacist views. No joke, no game, no playing. They know what they're here for. They know what they're doing. They know what their goals are, and they didn't adopt these symbols out of happenstance. They know exactly what they got them for. They know exactly what they're for, and they know exactly why they're here. Now, this next one, for those of you who live in the southern United States, as I do, this next one is of incredible prescience and significance. The next one is Neo-Confederate flags, or Southern Nationalist flag. Says that designed by a former member of the Neo-Confederate League of the South, LOS, the Southern Nationalist flag is intended to evoke the St. Andrew's Cross and the Confederate battle flag, frequently carried by members of LOS and their allies in the South. Now, for those of you who don't know, it looks like just a white background with a black X on it. That's all. It looks like a white background with a black X. But if you'll remember, that's all the Confederate flag is. It's a red background with a blue X with a white border on it. And the article goes on to say a frequent variation features the flag combined with the Confederate battle flag. It features the Southern Nationalist flag combined with the Confederate flag. So it's got it in half. On the left half of the X is the red and blue X, and on the right half is the black and white X. That's what it looks like. Once again, like I say, you can look the article if you want to. Now, a variation of the Neo-Confederate Southern Nationalist flag features a magnolia flower, the symbol of the Right Stuff's Southern offshoot Identity Dixie. Keep that in mind. One of the variations of this Southern Nationalist flag, white background, black X, has a picture of a magnolia in the middle, which is a symbol of the Right Stuff's Southern offshoot Identity Dixie. Now, for those of you from Louisiana, what's the state flower? All of us in Louisiana learn that is children. Looks so harmless, doesn't it? Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to say that, was I? What is the state flower of Louisiana? The magnolia. Now, I want to go a little bit deeper into this because where I live, in Shreveport, Louisiana, if you will go down on Wallace Lake Road, when you get near the end of Wallace Lake Road, there are two expensive subdivisions way out there. Right before you get to the lake itself, where the road dead ends. And one of these, the first one you come up to on the left, it's got a picture. It's got a poster outside at the gates of this subdivision that has it's a blue poster with a white X on it. Now, I recognize this immediately for what it was. This is a variation of the Confederate flag, and it sits outside of this subdivision. But if you want to be more specific, it is the Southern Nationalist flag, right outside at the gates of this subdivision. As I have always taught you, they are marking their territory. And I'm sure that others of you have seen something similar where you are, because these things are not isolated to one geographic location. Never have been, never will be. Moving right along, I want to go ahead and take a look at another flag here. The next flag is the Anti-Communist Action, a group whose name is an inversion of Anti-Racist Action, the first and historically largest at one time decentralized network of anti-racists and anti-fascists dedicated to confronting the far right and disrupting their events and rallies through direct action, including violence. The black and yellow colors refer to libertarianism, typically depicted on red forums under a black and yellow banner. Variations of the flag often feature helicopters dropping a figure from the sky, a reference to Augusto Pinochet's brutal tactics of suppressing dissent. Now, this next flag is identitarian. Now, I'll be honest with you here, this is a flag I had not seen. And there's a reason I had not seen it and why so many of you had not seen it. If you all saw a blue and white flag, now it may be a blue flag with a white symbol or a white flag with a blue symbol, but it kind of looks like the Mercedes symbol. You know, Mercedes has that three-pointed star. Only this is a three-pointed star in a triangle. It's a triangle with a three-pointed star in the middle. And that is the one that they mark on here as identitarian. Now, the description of this one says, based on the model of European identitarian groups, Nathan Benjamin D'Amigo launched Identity Europa from his grandparents' compound in Oakdale, California. Now, this is significant because as black people are sitting off watching Love and Hip Hop and being experts at niggatry, because that's what we do. We become experts at niggatry. These people over here have learned to conceal what they do at a super deep level. And what they've done is they've gone directly outside of the country in order to gather their symbology. So that they're sitting in front of the rest of us and we're like, okay, this guy must really like Mercedes. Not realizing that no, he brought this all the way over from Europe because he knew you would not recognize it. And that is their flag. Identity Europa, the article says, focuses on recruiting college-aged white students in order to discuss, quote, race realism and white interests, targeting disaffected young men by branding itself as a, quote, fraternity and social club. Now, if you go and look up Generation Identitaire, go take a look at their flag. It's yellow. And it's got a circle. Almost, it looks like an upside down Lexus symbol, if I can say it that way. It's just a circle with what would be a V, an upside down V inside of it. And that's what Identity Europa based their flag on. Only instead of a circle, it's a triangle. This is deep cover. The next one is one of those spade-shaped spears, like Captain America's shield from World War II. The original one, not the round one. Says, "Come and take it" at the top where the blue is, and where the red and white stripes are, is two meat cleavers crossing each other. This flag is the American Guard. American Guard is a group of hardcore nationalists with aging former racist skinheads and at least one Klansman among its members, dedicated to physically opposing leftists at events and rallies. Augustus Invictus and Brian James are leaders within various state chapters. Some group members have connections to the Proud Boys and to the Fraternal Order of Alt Knights, the Proud Boys Military Division. So, you've got individuals that have an ideological bent, and then you've got a military division. Do you know why? Because they deeply understand that you cannot have an ideology that you cannot physically defend. If you are unable to physically defend your ideology, you don't actually have one. And yes, in the chat room, you're absolutely right. We would like to send a shout out to thank President Obama for not calling out a single one of these white supremacist groups while they were holding rallies and mocking him, and thus by proxy mocking the rest of black society. Thank you, President Obama, for not saying a word against any of these groups. No crackdowns, no nothing. Thank you very much for allowing this to foster so your daughter can get crunked up on lean at Lollapalooza. And both of his daughters are swirling now, by the way. For those of you who didn't know it, both Sasha and Malia, one of them is on drugs in a room full of white men, and the other one is out in public wanting you to know that Michelle Obama taught them swirling was the way to go. So I'd like to thank President Obama for his contribution to white supremacy. This rally in Charlottesville would not have been possible were it not for you, sir.